The closing session of this day, and with a real power panel, because we started this day with diving into the depths of artificial intelligence, into the ocean of data. We had a number of interesting conversations, both in this room and in parallel sessions. But now let's see sort of where can we dive, if not into politics, but a bit into policies, into policies of something which everybody in this room has its share. And I'm saying, just for the sake of the panelists here, that in the room you have people who, one way or the other, are working with languages, for languages, who either research, translate, develop tools, teach the students themselves. You have associations of service providers. You have associations of translators. And this is the forum about translating Europe in all its shapes and shadows. Now, on the panel, dear colleagues, we have the movers and shakers in the institutions, in the Commission, but also in the European Parliament. We have somebody who made a report which was endorsed by 600 members of Parliament. That's impressive. And the report was on the equality of languages in the digital age. And as you see, colleagues, Jill Evans is the Member of Parliament from Wales, and who decided to make that a kind of report. Now, on Commission side, the two DGs, okay, three DGs with a bit of DGT, to reply to that report and to comment how Commission is doing in that, will be DG IAC and Themis CHRISTOPHIDOU. I learned Themis. I mean, we are on first name terms for too long, but it's never too. Themis is running not translation. Themis is running education, youth, sport and culture DG, which a good number of you are knowing either from your teaching experience. I mean, and there is a number of professors or students. Erasmus Plus is a household name for a good portion of the audience, and this is a great privilege. Themis, you are one of the first, I mean, you are the first Director-General of this DG who are taking part and seeing this community of academic community whom you meet in many other occasions. And then DG Connect and Halil Ruhana is running digital market, a single digital market, again a big political priority, and running, among other things, the program which facilitates the language technology research, language technology development, and a number of projects that colleagues participate in is also financed by this DG. So this is the panel of which I'm very proud and happy to moderate. And let us start with the report. Let us start with the report. What was it about? Why did it? How did you get the idea that we need that kind of report? And in that sense, what EU, its institutions, shall be doing for the multilingual equality, or sort of equality of languages, like you put, in the age which is challenging, digital.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation to come here. there's been an awful lot of cooperation on the report with the European Commission and, of course, as you say, the support from other members of the European Parliament, which reflects what an important issue this is. And the idea for the report came from a report that was published by STOA, which is the research body in the European Parliament, which showed that the digital divide between languages was increasing all of the time, and that some languages were at risk of extinction in the digital world. Now, in the EU, as you know, we have 24 official languages, but there are some 60 other languages spoken across Europe. I come from Wales, as you say. I speak English, obviously, which is official. I also speak Welsh, which is not. It's co-official. And so we don't have equality in any case between languages at an EU level. But in the digital world, the situation is much more serious, because even some of the official EU languages are in danger. One of the reports predicted that 21 of the official languages were in danger of extinction in the digital world. And so there is a threat, particularly to minority languages and lesser used languages, but not just them. There's a threat to other languages as well. The EU is committed to unity in diversity, something that I believe in very strongly. And by investing in language technology, we can actually see this as a huge opportunity rather than a threat. Because within the EU, there is so much potential for investing in this technology. There's fantastic work going on across the EU. We need to draw together all of the universities and the companies who are already doing groundbreaking work in this field. But we need a large-scale, long-term investment programme, a real commitment by the Commission, investing in this area, which will create jobs and be a boost to the economy, as well as being important to those of us who value our own languages, for whom language is part of our identity and culture as well. So there are several aspects to this. And one of the things that I've called for in the report is for the area of multilingualism and language technology to be given to the portfolio of a single commissioner, so that there's one commissioner who is responsible for putting into practice all of the recommendations that I hope the Commission will take up and adopt, but also somebody who is seen as a point of contact for all those who were working with languages across the member states, and someone who would be responsible for reporting back, for monitoring progress, for ensuring that we meet the goals. Now, I know that a lot of the work is being done at present in the Commission, but I really think that as an outward sign of the EU's commitment, that portfolio being given to one commissioner would be very important as well.
I see Themis smiling because in one of her previous lives, I mean, I was not that precise with the account of CVs. Themis was deputy head of the cabinet for the commissioner who had in her portfolio also multilingualism as a kind of policy. But we will not go to these judgments before the new Commission arrives. But Jill, would you have some also more, how to say, technical stuff? I mean, what you think, EU could be doing in this digital, especially, you say technology, equality. Where do you see which elements are the key to your mind?
Well, one of the things that was highlighted when we worked on the report was that we don't exactly know at present what the fitness of each language, if you like, is in the digital world. There's currently a digital language diversity project which has been going on, which is looking at each language in turn and looking at what the strengths and weaknesses are in terms of the digital world. So what I'd like to see is an extension of that project so that we do this fitness check on all languages so that we can compare and contrast where we are at the moment. We know that English online is very, very dominant, for example, but we need to look at what the actual position of other languages is.
Okay, maybe we will get some of the insights from the colleagues, but Themis, on education front, yeah, and learning languages, yeah, clear, important feature of Erasmus Plus, now and looking into the future, sort of next financial programming, how would you describe, I mean, multilingualism, learning languages, it's priority, it's important, how do you reckon it in your DG?
First of all, thank you, Rytis Martikonis. I'm trying to pretend that my Lithuanian is better than his Greek.
For sure, for sure.
So thank you for this invitation, and thank you for organizing this. Of course, it's at the center of our work, no doubt about it. I'm dealing with education, with culture. It's at the heart of what we do. And I would like to thank Jill Evans for the report. We have been very happy to see some of the points of the report in particular, which are fully in line with our vision for what we call the European education area by 2025. For us, the European education area should achieve 3 overall objectives: promote cross-border learning mobility, which boosts language skills, overcome the remaining barriers to free movement of learners, and a genuine European learning space, which requires enhancing language competences, and thirdly, improve the inclusive lifelong learning-based and innovation-driven nature of our education and training systems. This last point is very important, and it's also very much about finding an appropriate place for digital education, and we work together with Khalil on this. We will hear more about it later. To help deliver this European education area, the Council adopted in May our proposal, the European Commission's proposal, for an updated recommendation on key competences for lifelong learning. I think this document resonates with the action points your report calls for. The recommendation highlights the importance of multilingual competence. What we mean with that is the ability to use different languages appropriately and effectively for communication. We also underline the need to possess digital skills. We also propose a Council recommendation on a comprehensive approach to language teaching and learning this year. These texts will be negotiated with member states. This will be, as always, a complex process. That's how the EU is constructed, with complex processes, but we always find the way in the end. And this will be implemented by the Romanian presidency next year from January. And we hope that this will bring a boost to language learning across the EU.
What about the digital skills? Yeah, I mean, we'll ask same thing for Khalil, but digital skills was something which we were discussing in the morning as well. Yeah. So that you might be translator, you might be somebody else, but digital is omnipresent. Huh?
Yes. Yes, we have also adopted together a digital education action plan, which exactly is looking at actions, how to help teachers and learners acquire the necessary digital skills. We have gone into a program of what we call a selfie, which is for schools to do a sort of self-test, if I may call it like that, on how they're performing in terms of digital education. We worked a lot together, DG EAC and DG Connect, on this, and I think Khalil has a lot more to say on it. So I pass
Khalil,
him the floor.
Pick up the microphone and continue the conversation. I mean, digital skills, digital single market. How do you take it? How do you program it? You know, what are you thinking in your DG to do for the audience, which is here?
Very good. Yeah, thank you very much, Christos. Yeah, first, many thanks to all of you for making our work feasible in the Commission. So I think that's, you know, without the work of all of this, of the stakeholders around this table, would be in very big trouble in the Commission and in the EU institutions in general. Now, what do we do for you? First, I think the report is a very good analysis of the situation today. The STOA report and the EP report, I think, give a very good overview of the strengths and weaknesses, and the comparisons are very good. And it's our focus is really on these areas of weaknesses, i.e., making sure that we have language translation in all languages of the EU and bringing them to a comparable level of available resources, available tools, available services that accompany these tools. I think the report, I think the STOA report, and a bit taken a bit by the Parliament, highlights that we're not investing a lot on this, and that we don't have, I would say, a clear agenda on language translation and language technologies in particular in the digital world. I would not disagree with this, and I'll come back to, you know, what are our plans. But just to say that in the last 10 years, we put around 200 million euros on research and development and language technologies. Just the language technologies part, not on the enabling technologies. If I include the enabling technologies like artificial intelligence, like data analytics, like advanced computing that you need absolutely for language technologies, we get something like 1.4 billion euros of investment. It has been a systematic area of research and development in the ICT and digital programs since their inception. That was always the case. And what we have tried to do since now, I would say 8-9 years, is move from research and development to deployment. And this is where we're using the Connecting Europe Facility instrument. This is work that we're doing together with DG Translation on consolidating the research results into tools that we can make available. As you mentioned, Retis, at the beginning, tools like Moses that, you know, I know they mentioned today. I know it's only about statistical tools, and QT21, that is now a new tool that we just put, a continuation of Moses. These are results of European programs, but we wanted to put them also into action, and that's why we're working together in the CEF and the Connecting Europe Facility to bring about a tool that could be used first by EU institutions for latest tools for automatic translation, machine translation, including neural machine translation that we just introduced now, and we see the results. And now, since beginning of October, these tools are available for all administrations in the Union. So we tried them on our institutions, and now they enable translation 24 languages, not the 60 languages that come, but at least for 24 languages. This is a tool available for all administrations for automatic translation of 24 languages. We provide it to the administrations and public sector now. We're looking at where is market failure in the future and could be adapted also for access, for example, for SMEs. Just to say that Moses, QT21 were open source software, and that's why they're widely used. And they are up to date. QT21 is one of the best neural machine translation tool that is available on the market today. So, and we consolidate, we try to accelerate the move to exploitation. This is what we do together in the CEF21. So this is work in progress. I must say that I didn't see this in the report of the Parliament. And I didn't see this it was mentioned slightly in the STOA report, which means that we're not communicating enough on it. I think it's something we need to do and make sure that we exploit even wider these tools that are available. We take it very seriously. If you look at the DSM, it is clearly mentioned that language barrier is a key hurdle for the development of the digital single market. And if you want my personal opinion, it's certainly one of the biggest hurdles for the development of a digital single market. That we take that very seriously. This is why we're developing these tools. This is why we would like these tools to be as widely used as possible. That's on the current investments and what we're doing now. For the future in the next multi-annual financial framework, this is why I think now if I like the report from the Parliament, we're proposing to be even more ambitious. We're proposing a new program, the Digital Europe program, that focuses on deployment of the tools, that on building up capacities, digital capacities, including in language technologies. And we will be investing in capacities for artificial intelligence with application for language technologies. We'll be investing in pure language technologies, tools, to expanding what we currently have and ensuring their widest use across the Union. It's that in the program. I hope that we get that program through. And the report from the Parliament should help us do this, because we need these resources. It is true that we can put more investment in this to unlock the potential of the single market and to ensure the future development of the European project altogether. We're believers in this. And this is what we're proposing for deployment. And in Horizon Europe, the new research and development program, we have also on purpose emphasized the multilingual internet of the future. When we think about next generation internet, it has to be multilingual. We've emphasized the importance of language technology, AI, artificial intelligence, with all its application, including language technologies, machine learning for the future, is one of the 4 big tickets that we have proposed for Horizon Europe. That's on research and development. That's what we'll invest in, on also the deployment and the Digital Europe program. And I think the two complement each other and help us to have a very strong complementary actions in this area in the future. On skills, that's also, sorry, I left till the end, this is where we started. But on skills, we're proposing in the Digital Europe program to have, we propose 700 million euros to train workers, to train graduates after they graduate, and to propose even a higher degree, like master degrees, on the advanced digital skills that we all need. And that includes the skills in artificial intelligence. How can you work with an automated system? How can you work with an autonomous system? What can you bring? How can in the workplace, these tools can assist us in our work? Because this is what artificial intelligence will bring us. And I think for translation, this would be essential. We have to work with these tools, see what we can do with them, and how we can deploy them in new services, etc. We have 700 million euros that are foreseen, so around 100 million euros per year that we would like to devote to these advanced skills in the future. And that's part of what we, of achieving what we together agreed upon under the digital education of the future. But we focus on the higher level skills, knowing that for education, etc., with the programs that we have, that Themis has, we have a good complement there. That's, if you want, in a nutshell, what we're doing in this area and how serious we take it.
I think this audience knows perfectly well what we are talking about, because they are the beneficiaries. I mean, I'm sure there is nobody in this room who would not be one way or the other touched by the programs that we're talking here about. I mean, be it Erasmus, be it Connecting Europe facility, and I will be opening the floor. No, I would also ask to see what questions we have on Slido, if it works. Huh? But and then we have some 30 minutes to have also the discussion. So, other questions in the room? before we look into... what is this? Okay. Yeah. I'm looking for more hands in the room, but I have one here. Let us start over there.
Yes, hello, Mary-Louise Jackson. A question for Themis. Brexit is a bit of a difficult word. Do you have any thoughts regarding the future of UK-related Erasmus programs post-Brexit?
Okay. Who would take the Brexit?
They're all happy to let me deal with this hot potato. Now, the official answer is everything will be defined after the final agreement is achieved between the EU 27 and the UK government. That's the official line to take. Now, if you want me to go a bit further than that, I would say that yes, it will all depend on what is the agreement. Our leaders, respective leaders, EU 27 and UK, are working day and night to reach an agreement. A lot of people are concerned about Erasmus. I receive vice chancellors and professors and students and teachers every week who are very concerned, and who are not only from the UK, because mind you, the EU 27 teachers and students and professors are equally concerned, because if you have a student doing an Erasmus from Germany in the UK, the problem is as big or bigger than if you have a UK student doing an Erasmus in Slovenia. So all this is of course sensitive for a lot of people, and it's very personal and very emotional because it touches people's lives. But the decision will be taken elsewhere. It's above my pay grade, so we will patiently wait, and we will hope that the leaders in their wisdom will take the decision for the best of everybody.
As someone from Wales, of course, from the UK, I can say that this is something that people feel very, very strongly about. And I know that there's been a very effective lobby from the universities, not just universities, but all kinds of organisations and youth organisations, because this is so critical to our economy and to our future and to our young people. And it is one of the things that's top of the agenda. The Welsh Government and my party, Plaid Cymru, jointly published a white paper on our demands for the future after Brexit, if it happens, and continuing participation in Erasmus Plus was clearly there on that list of things that we need for the future. So there is an awful lot of work going on, and I hope sincerely that we will be, as a shadow rapporteur on the reports going through Parliament at the moment on the new Erasmus Plus programme. It's one of the things that I want to certainly try and ensure that the UK continues to participate, but certainly that Wales does, because it's so crucial to us. And in fact, it was someone from Wales, Howell Carey-Jones, who was the person in the Commission who first launched the Erasmus project. So it's something very close to our hearts as well.
I think the question on the screen is also going in that direction, but in a way you have answered them. Sort of how to encourage multilinguals in native English speakers. So this is part of it.
Well, yes, Erasmus is very important in that respect, but there is awareness that language skills are not the best in the UK. There's a growing awareness of that, and I think that if we do leave the EU, that focusing on language skills will be even more important than it has been in the past, because we will have to maintain our links with other European countries and strengthen those links, because we won't be in the EU anymore. But there is an awareness of this. In fact, there's been discussions going on this week here in Brussels about that, how we can raise the profile, how we can encourage more young people to learn languages, and Erasmus Plus, of course, is crucial in that.
But what would you say, I mean, maybe also Themis could come in terms of competence, in terms of competences, Brussels versus member states? Because sometimes when we sort of get carried away in saying, you know, Brussels shall do this, Brussels shall do that, I get a pushback sometimes from the member states sort of saying, wait, I mean, is it not for us? Is it not for governments, sometimes regional governments, to do these things? And would not Brussels stay away from this?
I think it's about partnership. It's about working together. I'd like to see the regional governments having a much higher profile at an EU level and working much more directly with the Commission and the Parliament. Of course, we have the Committee of the Regions, where regions are represented. But yes, of course, there are clear differences in competence, like the Welsh Government is responsible for education, for example. But it's about working within that overall framework and to see how we can strengthen these issues by working together. And language technologies, of course, is a big part of that.
Themis, what would you say on that?
I think it is the trauma of every Director-General for Education and Culture throughout history has been how many times member states said, stay out, this is my business. So this has been a feature, a very frequent feature. However, I would say that even the countries which are the most jealous and protective of their competences and who have their multi-levels of competence and where things are the most complex, even those have been the first ones to come and discuss when I started my job to see how we can work together, because it's one thing to say the curriculum in my region is my competence and this is fine, but policymakers in the member states, in the regions, even at local level, are realizing more and more the importance of education and of culture, for that matter, and they realize how much for the next generations this will be a make it or break it in terms of how the EU will perform. So they want to see more EU in terms of cooperation. Erasmus, of course, is a sort of, I would say, if you allow me, the most popular EU program, and it's very much is not just about learning. It's about getting to know each other. The mobility element of Erasmus is the soul of Erasmus. So it's about going out and meeting the others, getting to know their culture, their language, their food, their way of dressing, their way of thinking, and in the end, you get to know yourself also better through that. So I think that member states every day that passes see the added value of that more and more and are asking for more. And this is why the Commission has put on the table a proposal for the next financial framework to double the budget of Erasmus, so to go from 15 billion to 30 billion, which would be a quantum leap in terms of Erasmus financing. And with that, we want actually, if you give me a second to talk about that, we want to triple the number of beneficiaries. Because we need to make Erasmus more inclusive. We need to have more people participating at all levels, higher education, schools, teachers, youth. There's a big range of Erasmus programs. This is the sub-programs. Erasmus is known mostly for the higher education part, but we're doing a lot at all levels and all age groups, and I want to work more on that, and I want to work more with teachers and with schools, because at higher education you have already a sort of crème de la crème of society that you're reaching, but you have left behind a lot of children that haven't reached higher education. So it's important to reach out to teachers and to schools in order to help at an earlier age.
Colleagues, the floor is still open. I mean, for questions either on technology or in vivo, but just not to get sort of focused only on English or Englishness or Brexit. I mean, in the morning there were good presentations, impressive presentations, Khalil, on language technology, also financed by us, by Commission. But one thing was also looking into the proportion between the big players globally. And what do you say? I mean, what's the reply? I know this is touchy, this is difficult, but okay, what's our reply in comparison to American, not to Chinese behavior and investment and competition in that area? How do we mobilize our resources? So we not only produce the inventions, but we are able to sort of to put it into the market and to put it into the economic use.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, let me just start by, digital in general. Where do we stand, and where are Europe's strengths? What are Europe's weaknesses? And you could see that we can map them directly to the language technology area, to artificial intelligence and language technologies and their development in the future. Europe today, when it comes to digital technologies, is present and has strong positions in the areas that deal with professional applications and what we call the vertical areas of digital. For example, we do produce more than 50% of the electronics and software that goes into the automotive sector. This is all produced in Europe. We produce more than 50% of the technologies, digital technologies that go into energy manufacturing. This is where we're very good. We're good also in the software that on which our businesses run. More than 2/3 of the world businesses, large corporations, run on European software. This is where we're good. We're good in these professional markets, vertical markets. And we're good at embedding digital in complex artifacts like cars, like planes, like trains, like machines for manufacturing. We have this good tradition of complex engineering that is still very, very present in Europe. Reliable and complex. This is where our added value is. We still have worldwide close to 60% of the telecom equipment market. They're challenged, of course, every day. I mean, digital is a very, very competitive area. They're challenged, but these are our strengths. We're weak on consumer. That was a tradition since a long time. On consumer areas, we're weak on web applications. There we have some very good players in online commerce, but if you look at the big platforms, of course, we're not there on big platforms. So this is where we are, and if you map it to the translation areas, to language technologies and automatic translation, there as well you could see that when it comes to professional applications like translation systems for the navigation systems in cars, etc. We have very good industry there. Our major lacking asset, or the major lacking asset, is of course access to data that you can find on the platforms in general. But this is something that's very important for the future, as we know. You need it for translation. You need the larger your corpora, the better, the more precise is your language translation system. So there, we have an asset which is our public sector data. We have one of the richest and most precise public data that is available. And our goal is to make that available for innovators. This is why we just revised our public sector information directive to make sure that data that you can access is data that you can reuse across the border. We will be investing in making available these common data spaces so that innovators can use them. And in language technology, extremely important. This is one of the issues that we'll be supporting in the Digital Europe program. common data spaces. We will, our estimate is that we'll be able to put close to if the program goes through as it is now, 1.2 to 1.5 billion euros on creating common data spaces across the Union, including large corpora for translation. This is the area that we're working on together. But we'd like to make it available across the Union and ensure the aggregation of data across the Union. This is extremely important. As you mentioned, Retis, what we're being less good at in the digital economy today in Europe is being first movers. We have the science, we have the technology, we have very, very good research labs. But we're not being first movers in adopting the technology and deploying it as quick as some competing regions, China today, US, in particular Korea. They are very good in being first movers, and that's what we want to address. And that's why we're proposing a program where we can also, in addition to research and development, we can act collectively in being first movers. First movers in making this data available, first movers in deploying it in areas that are very important for us, which is multilingualism. So that's the way we see the plan for Europe for the future. And if we do it collectively, we can get the corpora across the Union, we can get all languages, and we can make them available for innovators to grow in this field.
Colleagues,
I'm sure this is something we could, dwell on for the whole day. But just a summary of what can Europe do, where its strength, where its business. We're good in the digital that is not visible. We're very good, but it's not unimportant. It's extremely important. Today, the embedded software business, where we have close to 35% of the world production done in Europe, is as big as the rest of the software industry. So it's not a small part. It's a very important part, and it's the part on which the future digital opportunities are based. Digital opportunities of the future is about digital that will be as part of all our lives. It'll be in all types of artifacts, and this we can still do very well in Europe.
Okay, I address the audience not to wait for me to say, look, and this is the last question. Because I'm looking at the watch and the moment will come soon. But, and then because then when you say this is the last question and then you had hands. So make up your minds. The last question moment is approaching. But Jill, looking at your report, sort of in preparation of that report, which interest groups, which stakeholders, which segments of societies or professionals you would wish to be sort of more active, or sort of saying, yes, this is important to us? And I'm relating it a bit to my previous question on sort of who should care about what, and having the room full of stakeholders in this process. Where would you say sort of let's concentrate on this? This is priority. This is where we need more active engagement and pronouncement of interest.
Well, I think really it's an issue of improving the quality of life of all European citizens. So in a sense, it affects every single one of us. If you look at small businesses, for example, developing language technology and machine translation and so on can enable them to do far more cross-border trade, which at the moment they don't do, because they can address customers in their own languages. For people who go and live in a different member state or come move from one country to another, who are maybe not fluent enough to be able to deal with the administration in that country, then it can help them. Obviously, universities and the education sector are involved, and I had tremendous help and support from universities in developing the report, because they were the ones who had the expertise. They were developing the technology. But really, it's about bringing all of those players together. We need the research, we need the innovation, we need to develop the technology, but we also need to ensure that all of our citizens know how to take full advantage of that. We have new kinds of applications now machines that will talk to us and give us information, but we need to ensure that we have those in all of our languages, not just in 1 or 2 languages. So I think it's really a question of raising the profile of this whole issue, ensuring there's enough education so that people are confident about using the technology, and of course preparing for the future where the young people today will not be leaving the EU in future, they'll be staying here to use the skills that they have to invest in our economy.
Looking a bit at the screen here, Themis, Erasmus support for a professional, young professionals, for example. I mean, it's a specific question on the freelance translator, but is there a possibility for a, not a student, but let's say young professional, Is it Erasmus or something else?
There's a lot of European programs that support training, retraining, skills, and so on. I would see this more in the remit of the social fund. Again, Erasmus is a mobility program, so you have to always think about its mobility element as fundamental. But there are a lot of European programs that support young professionals, and I would think that the most immediate that comes into my head, it would be the European Social Fund.
Okay, thank you for this. Halil, the big question from Andres. Human Genome Project. What do you think about the Human Language Project for the breakthrough in language understanding?
It's a very good idea to consider. Just to say, I mean, because I've lived through the research and development in language technology since 20 years now. We should be careful with the expectations that were raised, because we did invest. We had, more, I would say, structured investment in language technology some time ago. At some stage, we were reaching, a stage where we see that we were turning in circles and we were not progressing. Today, there is a big opportunity because of the advances in computing, because what we can do with algorithms on artificial intelligence, so with autonomous algorithms that could capitalize on data with the large data corpora that we can process. So it is now, it is probably time to relook at, a new, more ambitious program. This is what I'm, what I read from there in this area. It's something certainly we consider.
I could suspect who's the author of the question. I mean, what is the expectation, Andres? I mean, when you put this question, what would you expect?
We believe that some concerted action would be needed to really achieve the next breakthrough, because still the current methods are kind of shallow. They treat language as a sequence of letters, but we have to go into the next level of really understanding the language and helping computers to understand the meaning and help us to get knowledge out of the text, and do that in the way that supports all European languages, so that all Europeans can enjoy this equal opportunities in the digital world. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now the last question moment is there. I mean, and the doors are opened to the networking village. Is there somebody who has the question which was not put during the day and during the session? No. If not, then it means that we will finish perfectly on time. And it's my great pleasure to thank once again the panelists here, and to thank both for participation here, but for the teamwork every day. Yeah? And to say that when we talk Commission, when we talk, it's never DGT only, it's never IAC only, it's never Connect. For this audience, this is the display of people, of those who decide, on how to meet the needs that you are putting forward, how to serve best, And this is the beauty of our whole exercise. This is the whole beauty of the European Commission acting in concert. And European Parliament, always inspiring, pushing us a bit further. But I'm sure that in this spirit, we will be able to work for the multilingual, both education, multilingual tools as we work with them. Thank you very much, colleagues. Now we open the door. Networking Village is next. Okay?